Hello, you're watching Tell It Like It Is, and my name is Kathy Benuck. Today our show is titled Race for County Attorney, and it's one of a three-part series that we're doing on this year's race for the Hillsborough County Attorney. There are three candidates. One is the incumbent County Attorney Dennis Hogan, who's a Republican, and the other two are Democratic opponents, Attorney Patricia LaFrance and Attorney Bob Walsh. My guest right now is the incumbent County Attorney Dennis Hogan. Dennis is a native in Nashua, the seventh of 11 children. So he has 7 brothers and 3 sisters. His family has very deep New Hampshire roots and are actually mentioned in a history book about Nashua called The Nashua Experience that tells about some of his family members who were killed by Indians in a location that is actually now part of Drake, Massachusetts. His mother's family farmed southern New Hampshire from the 17th century all the way through to today. On land that today is in the towns of Hudson, Amherst, Hollis, and Nashua, and in fact she grew up in a dairy farm in Hollis. His dad's family emigrated to the Merrimack Valley area from Ireland and also were French Canadians, and they all came here to find jobs in the mills that made the area famous. Now Dennis's grandfather was a foundry worker, and he eventually represented Nashua in the New Hampshire House of Representatives, and his dad, James, was Nashua's city engineer for 25 years. Now, prior to even entering first grade at St. Christopher's School in Nashua, Dennis learned the value of $1 by becoming a neighborhood door-to-door salesman. Yes. He picked pears from the tree in his yard, loaded them into a tin Batman lunchbox, and then went throughout the neighborhood selling the pears for a nickel each. I want you to picture this. I can't get this out of my head, you know? Little Dennis, 5 years old, kind of that altar boy face going around going, would you buy my pear? By the time he was in the 4th grade, he was delivering the Nashua Telegraph to homes covering several blocks in his neighborhood, and he earned high praise for never missing a single delivery, even during the great blizzard of 1978, when this entire region virtually, literally, was buried under an avalanche of snow. He continued his telegraph deliveries all the way through to junior high school when he went to National Catholic Regional High School, and he still found time to be a standout on the school's basketball, baseball, and track teams. He then went on to Nashua High School, and while there stayed very industrious because he held jobs at Dairy Queen and at 2 well-known businesses no longer in existence, the Finest Supermarket and Stewart's Department Store. But he still found time to participate in high school gymnastics, and probably in a prediction of things to come, was on the school's debate team. And he and his debate partner actually won the Novice Division State Championship. He then went on to Keene State College, but after a year he decided to transfer to UNH, and he then received his degree in political science in 1986, while simultaneously working in the lab at Nesmith Hall at UNH, at Stewart's, and at Alexander's Supermarket. And if that wasn't enough, while in college, he was elected to represent Nashua at the state's 17th and last Constitutional Convention in 1984, and he also was elected, wait till you hear this, to the New Hampshire legislature, in both cases receiving the highest number of votes in Nashua. After his graduation from UNH, he took a job in sales for Northwestern Mutual Life Insurance, and also worked as a substitute teacher and continued working in retail. He then worked in claims for 12 years for Allstate Insurance Company in Bedford before making a decision to return to school to become an attorney. So in 2002, he then received his Juris Doctor law degree and his LLM Advanced law degree from UNH Law School, which was formerly Franklin Pierce Law Center. He worked for the law firm of Jordan, Maynard and Perotti, PC, for 2 years, and then decided that he would go into a solo practice in 2005. That year, he was the top vote getter in the national election for the Board of Education. In 2006, he became very well known throughout the state when he became the only person in New Hampshire history to win a nomination for the New Hampshire State Senate as a write-in candidate, and to defeat cop killer advocate Tom Elsear for the Republican nomination. The incumbent Democratic senator ultimately won the final election because it was really a traditionally Democratic district. In 2010, Dennis was elected Hillsborough County Attorney in a three-way race, and he, in that race, defeated the incumbent County Attorney Bob Walsh with 53% of the vote. And Walsh is actually now one of the Democrat candidates seeking to unseat him. Dennis is involved in the community in numerous ways, not the least of which is through serving as a youth soccer coach and as a Biddy and Junior Biddy basketball coach in the Nashua Parks and Recreation programs. And he's also a player in the Over 40 Baseball League. And for those of you who have watched my show from day one, last summer I had Dennis on to talk about his duties as the new county attorney. And during that show, he actually pointed to his nose and showed me a great big bruise he had from one of the Over 40 baseball games, taking me totally by surprise. So, without further ado, I'm delighted to have Dennis back again. Dennis, this time you're a candidate. Welcome back.
Thank you.
I have to ask you this. Do you still have that Batman Tim and lunchbox somewhere in a trunk in the attic or something?
No, I have no idea what happened to it.
Why?
You know, it probably wasn't. It was probably a hand-me-down to begin with.
Yeah.
So when I was done with
Well, you hadn't started school yet, so
yeah,
You
right.
snitched it from one of your brothers, right?
I don't remember.
Yeah, but you know, those things are worth a lot of money now. These are collector's items.
Yes, I know.
Oh, I thought you might have had it in the attic or basement.
I have
a
lot of. My mother was pretty good about keeping our toys and letting us save them, but no, that's.
Or maybe the brother snitched it back that you took it from.
I don't know what happened to that. I wish I had it.
Yeah, I know. It'd be
Especially
fun.
with the,
I would ask you to bring it. It would be right here.
Right.
I cannot get that picture out of my head of you, door to door with your little tin box selling pears. I mean, that would be too funny.
And the pears were unedible, which and people
and
bought them
still
anyway.
Gave you nickels.
Which really remember that story reminds me that I didn't do and get where I am by myself. I mean, people were doing things like buying my pears because they just liked my family. And so
but
when I introduced,
can see you with that little face, you know, Mrs. Shanahan, would you buy a pear from me? Too funny.
Well, we thought we had a value to hustle, and so we tried.
Big families.
Yeah. But in
retrospect, you grow up with that many kids in the family, you get enterprising young.
That's true. That's true. I love to see kids who go out and sell lemonade during a yard sale.
But you never see them anymore.
Oh no! Yes. Yeah. Sure. I bought lemonade from a kid in Hillsborough just the other week after the parade. Sure. He had set himself up and just waited for people to walk by and sold them some.
Well, I can remember not up here, not in Bedford, but when I was still in Massachusetts, a long time ago, that when it would snow, there'd still be kids knocking at the door trying to earn money to shovel your driveway.
Oh, gee, I forgot to put that in my resume. I forgot to put that in my resume.
Now, how would I not know you have done that?
I sure did. Yeah, I went next door and shoveled.
See?
Sometimes we got paid well, and sometimes we got chewing gum.
I used to babysit. Yeah, same thing.
Yeah.
And when I was too young, to be left in the care, whoever had a new baby, I'd be knocking on the door, could I take the baby for a walk? And of course the mothers loved it because, they'd get rid of the kid for a little while, watch a soap opera or something.
Yeah, sure.
Well, anyway, as much fun as it, we'll do a show about, reminiscing, all right?
Okay.
All right, but today we'll talk about,
let's get serious.
Insist. All right.
Well, part of doing a good job as a manager, which is what this job is knowing when to be serious and when to be relaxed and being able to laugh and enjoy your time together. So, that helps set up a culture in my office of both working hard and being pleasant. Mm-hmm. Because the fact of the matter is, the people in my office aren't getting raises. Mm-hmm. And they better be coming, from my point of view, they better be able to come into a job that they like, so that they will work hard and do it for an amount of money that hasn't increased in the last couple of years because of the economy and
not to mention the
restrictions
nature of the
and budgets.
Work too. I mean, you're dealing with some of society's lowest forms.
Yeah. You have to go up against tough people, and you have to go up against their defense attorneys who are pressing you. And if you have a leak in your case, they're going to press for it. So you got to be able to relax and come in and do it. And so the work hard, play hard mentality.
So what are you trying to tell me? Good parties there or what?
Well, no, not parties, but just a relaxed atmosphere.
I'm talking about afterwards. I was going to say, if you have good parties, I'd like an invite.
All right, I'll let them know.
All right, now we'll get serious.
There is a little, but as I say, there is a seriousness to it and a relaxedness to it. And my dad was in government for his whole life, and he told me, and I take this to heart. you know, there's a difference between being at the office and then going out afterwards.
That's right.
The leader doesn't go out afterwards.
Not with the troops.
No,
not a good idea.
You really have to keep yourself in a position where, yeah, it's just a relaxed office, and we expect you to do your work. But when it comes time to saying you got to do your work,
yes,
I'm the authority.
Yes,
and don't cloud us up with friendship and outside activities.
It's true. The boss does have to keep himself.
My dad told me that. I saw it happen when I was on the school board in Nashville, where people got too close to the leadership person, and then when there was a problem, they actually overreacted because they felt betrayed, and that caused, I think, more than the problem that created. So you got to keep a line in terms of a worker and boss, but you can be relaxed about that.
Do you feel that kind of on that line? And this wasn't a question I had planned to ask you, but on that line, because you had not already worked with the people, as part of their peer group, do you feel it was easier for you to be able to take on that role than for somebody who, they are working side by side and have developed that relationship, and now all of a sudden one of them's the boss?
In terms of being able to say, look, here's what you're going to do, because everybody else in the office understands that this is a problem. It's not that I just came out from nowhere and said, you've got a problem. But to say, the culture in this office is this way, and that's what I like, and that's where we're going to go, and you have to follow that. And then when it didn't happen, to be able to say, well, this we have to do something about it. So.
Okay.
Yeah. So to muddy those waters would make it more difficult.
Yeah. Oh, I think yeah. It's hard to discipline your friend. If it's somebody you hang out with.
Yeah. And sometimes when it's your friend, you kind of come down harder because you're trying not to be, so if you're not the friend at all, you just can play it right down the middle. And that's,
you're right.
I've had that advantage of playing it right down the middle. When I ran, there was nobody who was helping me that was expecting a job at the office. Very important, because I was able to then bring in people who were just great at the job. And so with these budget constraints have caused it so that we have less people, but I've managed to bring on people who are better at doing the job than the people who have had to leave. So I'm very happy with that, and I think the taxpayers should be happy that I'm getting more done with less money, and that's the reason. When it starts with where I came from, up from outside.
Well, that almost kind of ties into the first question I had, because I was going to ask you what challenges you faced in the last 2 years that a county attorney normally doesn't face, and how you handled them.
Yeah, that does really, because if you look at the budget for the county attorney, it has gone up successively over the years, and it's for the first time because of the bad economy. And the end of the stimulus money that the federal government had sent that kept us afloat for a while, we've had to have a reduction. The first year it was 6% reduction, and then the next year it was a 2% reduction in our budget. So we've really had to look at where we're spending the money, and that's caused us to want to get people who are going to cost less money, and so that means less experience. So as soon as I came in, I was thinking in terms of building an organization where really quality people wanted to come and work for me. And so I went right out to the law school and interviewed people on the law school. Oh, sure, yeah. It was one of the first things I did. Wanted to get people into the office and as students working there and really giving the idea that it's a great place to work. And so then when it came time to replace people who I couldn't afford the same level of experience, I had very quality people applying for the position who had less experience, yes, but they're going to be people who can catch on quickly.
But eager and enthusiastic and kind of raring to go.
Yeah, and resumes that are just fantastic, and people that you think, oh yeah, they can definitely do this job. Because it's difficult. And with reduced budgets, we actually have an increase in the amount of files we're doing with a reduction in the budget. So it's fallen on people that just have to do a better job. And so it takes a certain skill to look at the case and know where the case is going to go, and to catch on that quickly takes a special person, and we've gotten special people to do it, which is why we've been able to manage it without an explosion of problem.
Now, what prepared you to take on the position of county attorney? I mean, obviously you're an attorney.
Yeah, well, it was the stuff I sold people on back in 2010, that I had prior leadership experience, whether it was political, because there is a big part of this job that's politics. That's talking to the county commissioners, that's dealing with the county delegation, that's dealing with the chiefs of police in the various communities, and so there was that. And then there was also my experience with the insurance company, large national company, and seeing how they move the culture, how management was about moving a culture of how the people are going to work, and actually taking their training. So I knew on an individual basis how to treat each individual person, because personnel is a big part of it, and not doing the wrong thing is a big part of it. Because if somebody calls me and says, what's the deal with this person in your office, and I tell the papers, for example, well, that's going to cause a big problem. So knowing that ahead of time and being able to explain to reporters, look, this is why I cannot talk to you about that. Right. So those things.
Yeah, and I mean, some of the cases can be very news generating, can be very sticky. I mean, the only thing you don't handle are murders, right? Which the AG's office has to handle.
That's right. Yeah, so we can we deal with things that people are very, very interested in.
Of course.
And yeah, so there's a focus on it, and I think I reiterate to people, I'm doing a great job. And how do you know I'm doing a great job? Because there's nothing about me in the newspaper. Because if there was something about
that
I had done, they'd be all over me.
Yeah, they would be.
That's I think I'm doing a great job. So.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this: what do you consider was the most ambitious effort that you've taken on since you assumed this office?
The most ambitious effort. Yeah. Well, it's not like I've looked toward, a lot toward. I got to change everything. I think going in there with the confidence to say these are the things that are working well. I'm going to keep those things, and here's the way I'm going to, in a small way, affect them. But I do have an ambition for changing the amount of crimes that are happening in this community, and I think they're being generated by drug use. So I've been working with the court, and we're going to have to work. The court's going to work with all the other parts of the puzzle to bring in the drug court, which there is in a lot of other jurisdictions. And what they find is that, and I've always advocated for the idea that, look, if we got them having committed a crime and we're holding time over their heads, that we can get them to adjust their behavior and adjust what's in their head, which is what you have to do. So the drug court tells the person, look, we're suspending this sentence, which you might get if you don't behave, but in lieu of being in prison, get off the drugs. Come here every week, show us how you're making progress. Show us that you're hanging out with the right people in your family, that your attitude toward work is good, because that's one of the things they find. People who tend to do criminal, they don't even have a good attitude towards work. They're like, work, that's for suckers. Well, you got to get an attitude that, no, work isn't for suckers. Work is a good thing in and of itself. Not hanging out at bars. Just all those things. So then there's more, but get that person to start living the life of someone who's not going to be a problem. And then if they can do all that, and they can get themselves on the straight and narrow, as we call it, then they will avoid the prison sentence. And
then just by virtue of the fact that your Hillsborough County covers the two biggest cities in New Hampshire, Manchester and Nashua, I would imagine your office must deal with this, percentage-wise, probably a lot more so than some of the other county attorneys' offices.
Drugs as a percentage, you mean?
Well, just, just the numbers, the sheer numbers alone.
Sheer numbers were much bigger.
All the rest of it.
Sheer numbers were bigger, right. Nashua and Manchester with the larger populations are attracting, and the type of housing I think that you have in Manchester attracts people with who might be in a bit of a circumstance that might cause them to, maybe because they're doing the drugs, they have the circumstance and they want that kind of housing.
And truth be told, too, I mean, and I say this as a Massachusetts native who didn't grow up far from the border, this certainly is a Massachusetts influence coming over the border into Nashua and Manchester. I mean, a lot of the troublemakers down there do business in
I've
both
always
states,
been one, when it comes to political leadership, don't try to blame your problems on somebody else. Deal with the problems that are in front of you.
I mean, they are coming.
If that's the case, that's
I read the papers,
but there's nothing I can do about it.
I see the home, the home address. And I mean, certainly they are jumping on the highway and coming up 3 or 93 and bringing some of the grief with them. Yeah, true. There's a few New Hampshire people going down there getting nailed too.
Sometimes they think if they just cross the border, they're not going to get found out or something.
Yeah, Dumb and Dumber, right? Now, you've only been the county attorney for one term.
Right.
Why do you think at this stage of the game you've got two Democratic opponents nipping at your heels?
I guess you're going to have to ask them that.
Okay. I probably will. I'm interviewing them today.
I'm quite happy with the reaction that I get whether it's Republicans or Democrats or undeclareds. In fact, I have a web page that's Democrats for Dennis, and it includes undeclared people that that you can see little snippets in their picture of why they support me. What's going on in the Democratic Party? It's not for me to guess. It's a partisan vote, and so I expect them to put somebody up against me, and that's fine.
Well, I will say this. I did try to do some research on both of them, obviously, and I haven't yet seen anything, and maybe they'll say something today, I don't know, but I haven't seen anything where they're slamming your job performance or the office.
Right, right. I don't know why they would, but hey.
Yeah, no, I know. No. Well, I didn't mean it to be an unfair question. I just wondered if you had an observation on it.
I'd if I was wearing my political science hat and we were in a seminar, I might have a dissertation for you.
But, how many hats do you
have? There's sometimes, well,
I'm still
intellectually
the lunchbox,
But there are some points where you just say, hey, that's my concern. I got to do a good job. Tell people I'm doing a good job, and how they can know that, and what things they've gotten from me, and how they're spent. Basically their money is well spent because Dennis Hogan is the county attorney, and anything else is just off my message. I suppose.
No, like I opened with, the value of a buck.
I do, yeah. I mean, and I spend your money as if it was mine, and that's part personality, that's part the fact that my early job was as an adjuster here in Bedford, and that's what they expected of us. In adjusting, we couldn't just open a checkbook and write things to get rid of them. We had to say, look, here's the reason why we're going to spend this money. And I do the same thing for the delegation. We say, I plot out for them in great detail. Look, here's what you're getting at the county attorney's office, and here's why it's a good deal. And so they know that they can. I never sold them on spending more. They always said, well, it's very nice, but we have less to spend this year, and go figure out how to spend less. But at least they know what they're getting for their dollar. Do
you, at this point, have some plans for new or expanded things for the county attorney's office?
Not expanded. I mean, our goal, our job is quite set. I'm not trying to expand my fiefdom, so to speak. I want to focus on doing the best job we can on prosecuting felony cases. There's always room for improvement. One of the things I brought in is, communicate better. We get the information from the police department. Let's make a complete circle. When we're done with it, or almost done with it, let's let that police department know what's going to happen with the case before the disposition, so that they can say, well, wait a minute, did you miss something that's a little light on the disposition, in terms of a sentence, or that's fine and that's good. But to have that communication, that interaction, and completing the circle, it really develops a lot of goodwill with the police departments, and then makes future, because there's always going to be a sticky thing come along.
Oh, yeah.
And if you've communicated just in the routine things, when that sticky thing comes along, the person knows how you communicate. They just know you personally, and it makes it so much easier. So communication has been a really important thing for me. I go to every Chiefs Police Association meeting that I can. I've maybe missed one or two in the 2 years, and I encourage my people to communicate with the police officers and let them know what they've done with their case. So, and then when something sticky comes along, they all know each other and work well together. So.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, because that's important, obviously. I mean, if law enforcement doesn't believe that their job is being recognized,
right,
and going the full course of what happens next when they're done with them, then it's kind of all for naught, isn't it?
It's so much easier to deal with somebody that you already know, and you kind of understand their way of communicating, because everybody's a little different. We know that. Than to just get a cold call and say, hey, I've got a problem, and then to communicate to them, to let them know what information they need to have, becomes a little more difficult because it's the first time we've talked to them. It happens still, but it's better if we can keep talking. So.
Well, we're actually kind of running down on the
clock.
Out already? Yes, look at that. So I'd like to ask you just one real fast question, and then I want you to be able to look at the camera and tell people why you deserve to be reelected. Right. But this is the fast question. If money were absolutely no object, are there other things that you'd like to be able to do with the county attorney's office?
If money were no object, we'd just have more people doing it, because you'd be able to spend more time on a case. We have victim witness advocates that, there's one less now than there was before. Money were no object, you'd have more of them. You'd have a lot of them, so that everybody personally got somebody to guide them through.
Sure.
Or, every case was, the prosecutors could deal with a lot less cases. So yeah, there's definitely ways to spend much more money. Because as it is, you have to, those prosecutors, even the good ones, have to say, this is what we're going to do, this file, this file. If we had more people handling less files, they could be tougher on more of them. And I want to be tough on crime. And tough on crime in this particular, from my perspective, means getting this department to run efficiently. And so that's doing more with less because we have less. But hey, if we had more, yeah, of course, we could be tougher on crime. Yeah, no kidding.
Well, we are getting into the final stretch here, only over not even 3 minutes left. So at this stage in time, the camera right over there is focused totally on you. And this is your chance to literally talk to the voters.
All right, great. So well, thank you very much. My name is Dennis Hogan. I'm the county attorney, and I'm running for re-election. And I have a very simple message. I'm doing a great job. And you know I'm doing a great job because there's nothing about me in the newspapers. If the newspapers thought I was doing something wrong, they'd let you know. There's three important things in my job. It's to communicate with the chiefs of police, it's to set the culture for the job, and it's to do the personnel in the job in a way that doesn't cost the taxpayers any money, any more money than it should, I should say. And so I've done that. I've done all those three things quite well, and I've managed to run a department for 6% less money and do the job just as well as it was being done last time. I give all the credit, of course, to the people who I've managed to hire because I've been able to attract better people to come in and do the job in a better way. So if you want that kind of leadership, that kind of person who sets a culture for excellence that I am, then I would appreciate your vote in November, and we'll continue to do the job in a great way. Thank you very much.
You're a lot of fun to have on.
Well,
very informative, but a lot of fun too.
Good. That's. I hope that's a reflection of what my office is really. That yes, we're knowledgeable and doing a good job, but yeah, we're able to have fun, and really that's what attracts the good people. You know, we've had people even that left because of the county attorney that was here previously who talked to me, liked me, and said, you know what, I'll come back. And I said, okay, come on back, and you're a great attorney. You do a great job, and probably people in Bedford, your listeners know who I'm talking about, but I won't name names just because they don't want to run for office, so they shouldn't have to be named. But yeah, thank you very much for having me.
Well, no, my pleasure. And one of the things that I think our viewers can see is I think you're pretty accessible if somebody had questions or a concern that
I am very accessible. Yeah.
Well, Dennis, best of luck in the campaign.
Okay,
Thanks for coming back,
Thanks
and we'll have you back again on something else.
Good, thank you.
All right, and for all of you who watched today, as always, thank you for watching. And go to Dennis's website, and it will be on the screen, www.dchoganlaw.com. And again, that will be on the screen. And I did have fun today because Dennis is a lot of fun to talk to, but he's also a wealth of knowledge, and I think all of you who listened today learned a lot too, I think. So anyway, again, thank you for watching. Dennis told it like it is. I try to tell it like it is. We hope you'll tell it like it is too. Till next time, bye-bye.